My Move the Chains audience, how are we doing this morning on this terrific, kind of gloomy, doomy, football extravagant weekend, especially on Sunday? I'm recording this during the Giants-Panthers game. God help us, two bad teams, but I gotta post content. You guys like watching it. Carolina's up 7-0. I'll do my post-game reaction on that tomorrow, and I'll obviously finish watching that game after I post this video. So, hope we're doing well today. Crazy weekend, especially in college football, and there's probably going to be crazy shit today in the NFL. But I wanted to touch on a lot of college today. Like I always do, I'm trying to implement new stuff in my podcast and my videos. So, I want to touch on my guy yesterday. Cam Ward, balling yesterday, but, they got the loss yesterday. And I started noticing things with Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward a lot, and I've been just enamored with him lately. And I'm starting to notice with him, he's a really big talent, and I like Cam Ward a lot. To me, though, he's too much of a savior for that Miami football team. They would not be anywhere near what they are without him at the controls. He's the conductor of that offense. And I would say that football team, it starts and ends with him. Because, you either live with him or you die with him. And he does some shit sometimes. It's like an electric storm. It's great. It's electric. It's fun. He's got a 7-on-7 kind of vibe to him. My buddy Grant Sin and I were talking to the gym a couple weeks ago. He's got a little bit of Big Ben in him. I don't know if I see that. Big Ben was obviously a bigger, thicker guy that was a little bit taller than Cam Ward. But there's some similarities, and I can agree with that. But yesterday, Georgia Tech, they are a tough out. I mean, if you don't play that offense and that option offense a lot, it dates back to Paul Johnson back in the day. And obviously when Calvin Johnson was there, that program, it's going to be a hard out. And they did a great job yesterday mixing it up, mixing and matching the run game, getting some quick hitters out in the flat. It just was very good yesterday. And Georgia Tech did a great job, and Miami just couldn't capitalize, couldn't adjust to what Georgia Tech was doing offensively on defense. And listen, I'm a big Mario Cristobal guy. I like the physical nature. I like the toughness. I like everything about him, the bravado, all that stuff. But I'm starting to wonder if he's just a great recruiter and that's it. He's just a great pitch guy. Because to me, this has happened twice now. He's had two elite quarterbacks, and he's been carried by them. He's had Justin Herbert, and now he has Cam Ward. And I just watch him in these big, close games, and he can't deliver. And Florida State was kind of playing around yesterday. And they didn't have a lot of time on that clock. And you really got to do something in terms of that. And you got to fix it. And that defense is not championship level defense. Too many gashes, too many holes allowed. I mean, good heavens, the first play of the game, it was just straight up the middle gut, speed chase to the end zone. So I know he's in Miami. I know they recruit well. He's going to do a great job, and he's a great coach. Really, really solid coach. I don't know if he's elite, but he's a really good coach. Good recruiter, got a presence to him, the physicality. I like a lot of things about Cristobal, but he's got to clean up in that area. And Cam, listen, he's got to be better with the football. He put that ball in harm's way yesterday a little bit. He's a fighter. I love how they talked about on the broadcast yesterday that Louis Riddick was mentioning that he's just kind of plays like with this backyard football, never die attitude. And you could see it yesterday. I was doubting. I was like, holy shit, this is going to be a blowout. Uh-oh, watch out. And then they start fighting back. And he's a conductor. And he just fights and scratches and claws. And I love that about everything about Cam Ward. So moving forward, Miami's still going to win the ACC by a landslide. This is not a great conference. I don't take Clemson seriously. I don't take North Carolina seriously. So North Carolina's going to be fine. But they got to fix some things, obviously, on defense to maybe make it a run at the national championship or get in the playoff. Obviously, we'll see how the rankings come out moving forward. So I'll give my take on that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about last night was that Alabama-LSU game. And that, I've never seen a more electric, vibrant atmosphere at night than Death Valley. Shout out to Trey Sutter, who I follow on Facebook. I went to college with him. Kind of got me in the WWE a little bit. I'm repping my T-shirt. I got to get some more. Obviously, I'm hooked. And he's a big LSU fan that I know. That was a beatdown last night. And credit to Alabama, weathering the storm, handling the crowd noise, handling all that. But LSU's got some issues. And listen, I defend Brian Kelly. I was thinking about today. Took a walk this morning, listening to another one of my pods. I was trying to be entertained for a while. trying to get my steps in. I'm an Apple Watch holder trying to get achievements. But I was kind of startled by how bad LSU came out last night, how flat they were. That was embarrassing last night. I respect Brian Kelly a lot, but he's got to fix some things on this defense. And to get gashed again like that against running quarterbacks, that's his kryptonite right now. And listen, LSU's still going to win 10 games, and I think they're going to be a pretty good team. I always can trust them in terms of talent. They have a great state in that to recruit. And it's funny, there's a lot of states in the country that I've been following that have this kind of thing of they can recruit, and it's easy for them to get kids in state. You know, Kirby Smart has this at Georgia. Brian Kelly has this at LSU. Lane Kiffin, who I'm going to get to in a second and put a little credit on his name, he can recruit. And Sark at Texas. So a lot of states in the country have great recruiting bases, and Louisiana's in there, and Alabama's in there too. I'm not going to discredit what they did last night because that was an absolute beatdown. I know it was 42-13, but it should have been far greater than that. From the jump, I just knew, here we go. Jalen Miller was going to go Rambo, and him running the ball against LSU was just startling to me. 7 touchdowns and almost 200 yards against that defense with NFL bodies around it. I mean, credit to Jalen Milroe, but I just, to me, with LSU, Nussmeier, to me, is kind of underwhelming me. And listen, I was a Nussmeier guy a little bit. I kind of followed him near the end against Wisconsin in that bowl game last year that Wisconsin should have won, but it was a great game nonetheless. And then also the fact that he just has careless turnovers lately. And I heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about before the game. They're showing him in the locker room getting jazzed up and get fired up. That he's kind of a gunslinger mentality. It's kind of like the Brett Favre thing. You live with it and you die with it. You win or lose with it. They lost with it last night, obviously. He was out of sync. That weather was pretty shitty. I will give you that. But nonetheless, you got to play. And he just missed guys open last night. There were shots in that game that looked like the guy that could go top 10 last night. And then there's just times where I'm like, well, that's a third-round quarterback. There's no way he's going top first 2 rounds. So just got a lot of things to clean up for LSU. And the flip side to Alabama, I got to be honest with you. Jalen Miller just does not impress me. I get the kid. Comes from military parents, discipline. You know, coming from that military background, I understand all that. My knock on him is I feel like I'm watching Jalen Hurts 2.0. Great runner, great deep ball thrower, but a lot of inaccuracies and inconsistencies. And I've heard a lot of people say that about Jalen Milroe. They like a lot of things about him, but you got to clean up the accuracy. You got to clean up some stuff mechanically. But I love everything else intangibly with the kid. Never in trouble, great kid, good parents, a lot of stuff. Now, we'll see. Is there some more behind the scenes that I don't know about pre-combine? Who knows? That's lying season. We'll get to that later. But credit to Alabama last night. And that LSU rivalry against Alabama is just fierce. It's awesome. It's star-studded. It's like NFL 2.0. It's just incredible. And I got to go to a Death Valley game at night. That, to me, is on my bucket list. It's go to a Notre Dame game at night. It's go to an LSU game at night. Maybe go to Clemson at night when they're good. They've been kind of lately. But great game by Alabama last night, and kudos to them. Hard shoes to fill for Kalen DeBoer taking over Nick Saban, the GOAT of college football coaching. So the last thing I wanted to touch on today, and it's great having you guys in, is I know a couple weeks ago I gave a lot of credit to Brian Kelly and the job that he's done at Notre Dame. Obviously, he had a lot of shit to overcome at Notre Dame and that sort of thing. But I give Brian Kelly a lot of credit last night. Or Lane Kiffin, excuse me. I was touching on it. Brian Kelly, I gave him the props a couple weeks ago of how, we got to put respect on his name, and I still do with Brian Kelly. And I think eventually can win a natty. I really do, but he's joined the big boys, and it's kind of hard, especially since they added 2 more teams, the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma. But I got to start putting respect on Lane Kiffin. Do we not realize that Ole Miss has never had back-to-back 10-win seasons? I never found this out until a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, I can't remember. And he's had 2 of those in the last couple of years. And he recruits well. He likes recruiting. Unlike Rankin Riley, who just kind of, whatever. He likes recruiting. He's really mellowed out as a guy. I really think that he's just kind of mellowed out. When he was with the Raiders, now that was just a bad situation with Al Davis near the end of his life. It just was very messy and chaotic, and I'm a fan, but I'm being honest. I just look at stuff like that, and I believe that he can get a natty too. I just think he's like Brian Kelly. He's got a lot to overcome in that conference. Listen, Ole Miss has produced players. This is not a talent-rich, less roster. They get players in Mississippi. That's a really good football state of talent. Obviously, Brett Favre and all those guys. So this isn't a knock on, like, can they not recruit? No, they can. And they've had good players in the NFL. This isn't a shot at Lane. But when I get back to Lane, he's just matured a lot. He's grown up from the Raiders to USC, and now when he was at Tennessee and they didn't love him there, and the burning and all that shit. And now look at him now. I think he grew up in a football family, learned from his late dad, Monty Kiffin, who was one of the architects of one of those great defensive teams in Tampa Bay, who unfortunately beat the Raiders, but that's whatever. So I really was impressed last night, and the guy that I keep harping back to, and I said this before the year, I didn't mention this in my videos, and I apologize, is Jackson Dark's my favorite quarterback. If I can't get Nussmeier, Shador, or Cam Ward, I want that guy. 6'2", 225, great kid, no bullshit, really good quarterback guy coming out of high school from Utah, was with Lane at USC, Lincoln, and then Lane called Lincoln, hey, give me this kid, let's go, chop chop, and get on the freeway and let's go. And he got him, and he's been a 3-year starter there. He's balled, he's kicked ass, he's a tough son of a bitch. Had that knee injury yesterday in that monsoon bowl of a game against Georgia. Comes back in the game and guts it out. Gritty kid. I like everything about him. Accuracy can be a little hit and miss at times, but that throw he had in the end zone to that receiver filling in for that Harris kid, I keep watching. Every time I watch an Ole Miss game, that number 9 guy, he's a senior this year. I think he went to Louisiana, Lafayette, and then transferred to Ole Miss. He's been a fucking stud. I wish, he'll be a top 50 pick, I think, in this draft. He's a senior. That Harris kid got a big body frame, 6'3", 220-ish or something like that. I have to look at the measurables again. But we got to put Lane Kiffin in a really hierarchy of SEC coaches. I know we put, Kalen DeBoer there because of his success and everywhere he's gone and what he's doing with Alabama, although it was kind of bumpy, but he can get it back. I got to put Brian Kelly, and then Lane Kiffin's right there for me in SEC coaching. So, listen, Ole Miss controls their own destiny in the playoff. They're a really smart, well-coached football team. And give credit where credit's due. They kicked Georgia's ass yesterday in Georgia. They got bodies everywhere. And Kirby Smart's a great, great coach. I have a lot of respect and admiration for what he's done with that program. And I've noticed something with Georgia, and they've always been physical to me. But when they had Mark Richt and they had their guys, I just didn't feel like Georgia just hit you. And when I watch Kirby, and I think a lot of this comes from his defensive background, playing safety at Georgia, he's a crazy motherfucker, and I love that. You got to be there on defense. Offense all pretty and orchestrating and a conductor on the train and all that shit. That's great. But defense is about reacting, hitting, and smacking motherfuckers in the face, getting steel chairs, and yeah, America, woo! So I love that about Kirby. Carson Beck scares me. I know that he's got his ups and downs, but I just feel like a guy that's pressing too much. I didn't love the reaction yesterday on the sideline. He's kind of laughing. Him getting beat. So wears too much eye black for me, but that's just stuff for me. I was wrong on Carson Beck. I've been wrong before going into the year. So, Georgia's going to be fine. They've only got 2 losses. They'll be in. They'll be okay. Kirby is one of the best coaches in football for a reason. He's probably, if I had to redo the rankings, I just thought of this, be Kirby, DeBoer, Brian Kelly, and Lane Kiffin. So that's all I want to talk about today on here. I hope you guys have a great, fun, fulfilled Sunday full of football. And stay tuned throughout the week. I'm going to keep posting videos. Hit the like, subscribe, share button. And talk to you guys soon.